hello from what is now a very quiet, cold and dark MKM Stadium as we come to you 20 minutes out from midnight. Hull City beaten by 2-0. Sheffield Wednesday have now got more wins here at the MKM Stadium than Hull City this season, which kind of tells you everything that you probably need to know. It wasn't a good performance. If we talk about Luton and say Luton was a decent display from City, and they were a bit unfortunate in many ways, this was anything but that. Yes, they were unfortunate in the sense that Regan had a great chance at 0-0. He didn't score. James Beadle made a great save. Xavier Simons hit the post. But in truth, we're clutching at straws. That was a bad performance. When we talk about sacking performances in football, you often think of 3, 4, 5-0 defeats, etc., etc. That wasn't that tonight. It was a 2-0 defeat, but it felt like a complete battering. Because once Josh Windass scored a penalty for Sheffield Wednesday just after I think it was 37 minutes, their first penalty actually in more than 500 days. Of course it was coming tonight. Of course it was. João Pedro, clumsy tackle. The manager, Tim Walter, didn't think it was a penalty. It was clumsy. It was a striker's tackle. Oliver Langford, the referee, took an age to give it, but he gave it. And once Windass sent Panda the wrong way, the crowd turned. Walter, you don't know what you're doing. Sacked in the morning. Walter, we want you to go. You name it, it was there, and it never really stopped. And the second half performance was tepid. He made a couple of changes at half time. He took Charlie Hughes off. They had a couple of half chances in the second half, but it was rubbish, if we're honest. It was not great. And then it was no great surprise that Michael Smith came off the bench and made it 2-0. It would have been a travesty if Sheffield Wednesday hadn't won that game. So controlled. They could have been 3-0 up inside the first few minutes. Look, we've talked throughout the season, beyond these videos, in the reams and reams of nonsense that I have to write, the podcasts. We've talked so much about City and the philosophy, how I've just never believed in the philosophy. And tonight was kind of, it was shown up tonight, really, that the gaps, they're just all over the place, and the players I've never believed that the players believe in what they're being asked to do. They give their all, they're committed, all that sort of stuff you'd expect from a team skippered by Louis Coyle. They give absolutely everything, but they're being let down by what they're being asked to do. And it's just not working, and they're going to get relegated. This is a team that now 9 games, or is it 8, 9 games? I'm losing count of it now. And it is nearly midnight. Without a win, they don't look like winning games. They don't look like scoring goals. It's now 4 goals in 9 games, I think it is. It's 1 clean sheet in 17. They're in the bottom 3. The stats, yeah, they've had 60-odd% possession, but they've done nothing with it. And it's consistent doing nothing with it. And we're saying the same things, and they're bereft of confidence. And look, on a human level, and look, there wasn't actually. The official crowd was 21,000. There were never that many people in the ground. A lot of them were singing for him to go. And on a human level, I felt for Walter tonight. I watched him walk off the pitch, and he shoved somebody out the way to get to his families, his wife and his 2 young kids, just in front of just behind the dugouts by the tunnel. He was embracing them for a few seconds before going down the tunnel to then do his media. I haven't heard what he said to my colleague Mike on BBC Humberside. I've had snippets. Obviously, I've been pretty busy doing the stuff I've been doing myself. I gather it's not been great. Again, his interview. And look, I felt for him, because that, on a human level, he's a bloke with a young family there, and he's been absolutely pilloried by 20,000 people, and that can't be a nice place to be at. I spoke to Danny Roll about it, and he was very compassionate. Ultimately, this isn't working. He has to go. Acun Ilicali has to bite the bullet. I know that Acun, obviously I did an interview with Acun a couple of weeks ago, and he reiterated his support. All well and good. I know he spoke to Mike before the game, which I didn't think he should have done. I didn't think it, in the sense of that nothing good from Acun was going to come out of speaking to the media, any media, an hour before kick-off of a potentially damaging game, and it's turned out turned out to be exactly that. I don't think we could have expected it to be quite as damaging as it's turned out to be tonight. And he obviously said he wasn't going to sack him. Look, he might not want to sack him. Of course, he doesn't want to sack him. He's brought him in and he's given him the job and he's put a lot of faith in him. But ultimately, he's got to make a change because this is going one way. Hull City are careering towards League One. The club have worked tirelessly over the last couple of years to build up the trust, build the relationship with the fans, and if this carries on, it's going to do more damage than good. This cannot continue. You never want to see people lose their jobs because, for whatever you say about managers and whether you like their style, whether you like their interviews, whether you like what they do or not, is kind of a moot point to an extent. That there is a human behind that, and I tonight felt really sorry for him, and felt that for his own sanity, he needs to be put out of this, and for the club to move forward, for the players to move forward, a change has got to happen, and I think it will. I think we're getting to that stage now where it was vitriolic in the second half at Oxford. It was very critical after Portsmouth, and it was more so less so against West Brom, but it was still frustrated. Obviously, it turned again at Luton because he didn't go over and applaud the fans, and then he said he didn't go because he was wet. I mean, that's just head in your hand stuff, that is, isn't it? And then tonight, tonight for me, and I'm loath to use words like this, but tonight was toxic. It really was. The ground was toxic, and it doesn't help the players. Of course, it doesn't help the players. They're trying to perform. There's a lot of young players out there trying to make their way, and against that reaction, it's just really difficult. And I feel for them, and they just he's got to bite the bullet. Acun's got to hold his hands up and go. It's not worked out. Thank you very much. We tried, but I've got to make the right decision for the future of this football club, and that is, unfortunately, that is sacking Tim Walter, or whatever terminology you want to use, and then find a manager that can come in, that can galvanise that group of players, that can organise them, that can put some confidence into them because they're bereft of confidence, and getting results and get them hard to beat. Danny Roll said it in his post-match press conference that they just pick them off. And every manager we've spoken to this season, I speak to them every single week, ask them the same sort of questions, and they all say the same thing. They've got good players, they miss good chances, but they're so easy to play against. And the football is it's tiring, it's boring, it's sideways and backwards, and it's just they're going one way, aren't they? Let's be honest. Danny, Lou, there's so many of you on Facebook at this god awful hour on a Tuesday night in the freezing cold, all saying the same thing. Tim's tried. It's through no lack of trying on the training pitch. I know he's put an awful lot of work in. Sometimes in life, you have to be there's no shame in admitting that it's just not worked out, that you've tried and failed, both personally and professionally. We've all experienced that, and I think that is the time now for Hull City. Acun he has to make that decision. He has to say, look, we got it wrong. We tried. We wanted to go in that direction, and I think people will criticise Tim Walter's appointment. Acun's made it for his own reasons. He's got to now accept. Callum, I know he said that. He has. But football changes quickly. Football changes so quickly, and he said that before that performance and before that fan reaction. I don't believe that Tim. It's untenable that whether he goes before Middlesbrough or he goes after Middlesbrough, I don't see any way now that it carries on. So we have to wait and see. The next few hours will be important. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But unfortunately, I think Tim's race is run. James. I think there's a realisation now within the powers that be that a change is going to have to be made. They cannot. It's not 3 or 4 games, is it? Let's be honest. It's not 3 or 4 bad games and bad results. If you look at the body of work since Tim came in, it's just not working out. It just is not working out. And no matter how we dress it up and how we try and be positive and we try and put positive slants on it, like they played quite well at Luton, they still lose. They still lost the game. They still lost the game with having 2 shots on target and not having a shot on target till the 75th minute. Tonight, they've had, I think, 3 shots on target. It's just not okay. And this squad of players needs help. but I still think it's better than what they're showing, and I think a manager coming in that knows the division, that can just get the best out of this group of players, as I said before, come in and galvanise it, and get them playing, and get them playing a style that they're comfortable with, because that just isn't. Look, we can debate it all night long until the early hours, but ultimately we'll go around in circles. This isn't working. The manager, yeah, Luke, it is boring. I think it's boring, and I've said this. I've been really open. Some would probably say too open. I wrote after the game at Luton that, you know, fans have had enough. 2024 here at the MKM Stadium has been a shambles. 3 wins now in 21 games. That isn't good enough. You know, you're paying your money, you're turning up in all kinds of weather, watching the team play. Yeah, we can talk about the atmosphere, but that's a separate conversation. Ultimately, 3 wins in 21 games this year is absolute garbage, and I get it. I get the frustration, the anger, and that tonight was just an outpouring of. We've watched this team 21 times this year here in League and Cup, and it's been, for the most part, garbage. It's been boring. We've been fobbed off with philosophies and styles of play, all that scientific nonsense that that we get drowned out with in football nowadays. That ultimately fans just want to come and watch their team, give them everything, and try and win a football match. And City aren't getting close to that at the minute. So that's why we saw tonight happen. So look, he's got to make a change. I'm sure that he's got to. We'll have to wait and see what happens over the next few hours. If anything does happen, obviously we'll have plenty of commentary, plenty of comment on it. Yeah, Charles, it was horrendous. Tim Walter said it was a horror. Well, he said it was a horror for him. Yeah. Thanks for all your comments. It's been a long day. It's going to be a long few days, I feel. Thanks for all your comments. We'll have all the build up to Middlesbrough on Saturday. If anything changes in the manager's office, which I feel like we're close to, if I'm honest, I feel like we're getting there. I know what Acun said on the radio. I'm aware of that. My gut feeling is that a change is going to have to come, and we'll wait and see what happens over the next few hours, in the next few days. But do keep in touch, of course, on Facebook, on Twitter, on the podcast, on YouTube. God knows where else we are coming to you. Thanks for your support, people. Keep believing. It will turn around. Yeah, John, we said that at the top. Sheffield Wednesday have won more here than Hull City this season. That kind of feels like a fitting way, or a dismal way, to end what has been a really sad night. And this isn't funny. It's depressing for all of us, for you that pay your money, for those for us on the other side that, you know, have to try and speak to people and talk to people and make sense of it, and speak to players that I mean, I spoke to Louis Coyle. He's hurting, you know, really hurting. This is hurting him, and that for me is why they need to make a change, because they need to bring somebody in that can galvanise them, can get the best out of them, and ultimately make them enjoy it again, because they're not enjoying it. They're not enjoying coming to work, and it's so bloody obvious. And I just hope for their sake that when a change comes, a manager comes in and they can enjoy it again. Whoever that is, ultimately, whenever that comes, because it's going to come at some point, isn't it? We all know it's just a matter of time. The whole football club needs a lift, and there's a lot going on behind the scenes. But let's hope that whoever does come in charge and fronts up the football side of it, and what have you, can get us moving in the right direction, because there's a group of players in there that are far better than 22nd in the table. It won't be Steve Cooper, Luke, I don't believe. As much as I think a lot of people would love Steve Cooper for what he's achieved in the Championship in recent years, I don't think it would be him if a change was made. So look, thanks everybody. It is late. Let's crack on. There'll be plenty more to come over the next few days. Up the tide.